Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, thanks for the delay again today. Thanks for the delay again today. It sounds like I'm thanking you guys for the delay. Appreciate you all delaying the show again. As you see, I got less lazy and went and got my contact lenses, so I was getting a lot of heat from my wife. She's like, don't do your show in your glasses every day. So anyway, and then meanwhile, so the guys out front, where our whole street's being paved over, and it was like pave again. You know, they've been posting these street signs for the last month. You know, between this and August 10th, you know, you don't park in your driveways or in front of your house. Like, where the hell are you supposed to park? You can't park in front of your house or in your driveway. But
Right.
and I've got a Hummer, so I don't care. I'll just go over anything. But they've been tearing apart. They've been tearing apart different things, different parts of the streets, and then they're really nice guys. They're out there. They're fans of the show, and they know about Hockey Buzz and all this stuff. And they saw me out there working on my rink and everything like that. So
Welcome, asphalt engineers. Go ahead.
they're very good guys. And today they were like they knocked the power off, and I go running outside. I'm like, guys, I got a show in like 7 minutes. You know, like this was like it was just right before we were supposed to start. And they're like, oh yeah, we watch the show every day. It's great. I'm like, well, you're not gonna watch it today because you just killed my power.
Russ, I
like,
thought you said something other than asphalt engine.
I didn't call them asphalt engineers. It's we'll talk about asphalt later. But yeah, they were really, oh man, we're sorry, we'll get it. They really got it up and running really quickly. So it started at 1:59. It came back on. So at which time every
Uh-oh.
We lost his audio.
It's somehow muted.
hold on. All right,
There you go.
There we go.
that was my fault. I
Yeah,
always
no,
fiddle.
there was like a shutter for about a second, then it muted.
Yeah, it's just kind of day I've had. No, you know what it is? I know exactly what I always fiddle with my little cable here on my microphone, and I just pulled it out slightly, so that sucks. Anyway, I won't do that today.
Well, I mean, I remember, and I discovered this the hard way. It was not this previous winter, but the winter before, when it was extremely, extremely cold in Buffalo, and I had a space heater in my studio, in the Mike and Buffalo studio, and just before the webcast, and I was going to make myself a cup of tea, so I went and put a cup of water in the microwave and hit the microwave, and apparently in an old house that I live in, the combination of the space heater and the microwave was too much, and it clicked off all the breakers. At 5 minutes to 1, just before we were doing the webcast, and this is the first time, so I didn't know what was going on, and I immediately went down to the breaker, to the power, the room where the power, all the switches are, and switched them back on, no problem. But it took me 2 or 3 more times to realize that the combination of the space heater and the microwave was what was causing it.
Until we redid our kitchen, that used to happen in our house too.
Yeah, it's the worst. It's the worst. You know, we are such slaves to power when your job is.
We really are.
It's like incredible. I mean, I can go for a while if my laptop is charged, which is rarely, and if my and I can go for a little bit with my Wi-Fi hotspots, but not to do the show. It wouldn't work. But all right, let's get going.
APC unit, and the APC unit would probably go 15-20 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Maybe a half hour.
Yeah. When after we start the show, we gotta go ahead. Let's start.
What? Something else?
No. We need to talk about something right off the top at the beginning of the show.
Okay. All right. Well, you'll tell us what that is. Hold on. Not sure what that would be. We'll find
Mike
out.
has a secret.
Here comes the bell.
No.
Hello, Hockey World. It's August 10th. It's Wednesday, and it's the year 2016.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Eklund. And you're watching the HockeyBuzzCast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time and fills you in on the comings and goings of the hockey world so you don't have to pay any attention at all. And we have something to talk about right off the top of the show, according to Mike. Go, Mike.
Well, it just came out about 2 hours ago, and it was actually some very sad news.
Yeah, I know.
Regarding John Saunders, longtime host on ESPN. And I really, he's one of the guys.
Canadian, yeah.
Canadian guy. Well, but he was one of the people on ESPN who was very prominent in terms of hockey coverage. I mean, he was a Canadian. He was a former player. I think it was junior hockey.
Junior hockey. Yep.
Yeah, and I think he played Western Michigan, American college hockey. But he was always part of their NHL coverage when it was there. And Russ said that when he did the sports reporters, when there was something that had to do with hockey, it was brought up as opposed to.
And it was never the negative hockey story. It was the real hockey story. Like, it wasn't just about fighting or something like that. Yeah,
It just seems like a sudden thing too. There's no word yet, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it was sudden. They don't have any word on it.
61, and he was just talking, texting. When you look at his Twitter feed, he was just a couple days ago. He was talking to everybody like nothing was going on at all. There's no signs that he was sick or anything like that.
Yeah,
I can tell you, I've watched him from way back because living on Long Island, we were one of the first neighborhoods really in the country to have cable, right, with Cablevision. And so I hooked on with ESPN early on there when they were showing World Ping Pong tournaments and rugby and all kinds of
a lot of Australian rules football.
Yes, a lot.
And Canadian football, a lot of Canadian football.
And when they got the NHL agreement, Bob Lee and John Saunders, they were your go-to guys, and the other guy who I forget had brown hair.
Tom Mees.
Tom Mees. Those were your go-to hockey guys.
Yeah, they were. They were good to go. They all knew what they were talking about. And
They did.
it is a shame with ESPN about on the verge, of doing the World Cup of hockey. ESPN's kind of return to hockey. It's coming up with the World Cup in less than a month now, or actually no, more than a month. But I'm leaving in a month and 2 days from now. We are. It's a real shame, and I'm sure. I put a little text into my buddy John Buchacross to see if he wanted to come on at some point and talk about it, because I think that this is it's a really shame, and I don't know what happened, and I hope everything was fine. I hope it's hard to imagine.
Yeah, it's funny because I've noticed that regarding ESPN, and obviously this was something completely unforeseen, but if you notice. Mike Tirico left for NBC. I mean, all of a sudden, Stuart Scott, who was a great host, passed away a few years ago. Yeah. There seems to be a genuine, a diaspora from ESPN going to other networks, and Fox Sports 1 is giving them competition. It's not the powerhouse that it used to be. When you lose someone of the credibility of John Saunders, that's a big loss.
Plays into
that's the key thing. He had credibility. I would always watch the sports reporters. It's one of the few shows that I still watch on that network, and I would always enjoy what he added and then his parting shot. He always was like a caring guy, but like you said, there was integrity there. And it's funny that he was a hockey player first before he was any kind of journalist, broadcaster, whatever, but yet he never wavered, and that's the thing I always appreciated about him.
Did he do Canadian? I can't imagine. I imagine he probably did, like TSN. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know if he ever did.
No, from what I read of his bio after in the last couple hours, apparently he went and did some sort of sports reporting or broadcasting in an affiliate in Baltimore, and then
I heard that
he went to ESPN in 1986. So he had been there for 30 years.
Yeah, that's history of cable TV right there. 30 years.
He wasn't in the original the Bob Lee, Chris Berman group that started at ESPN from the very beginning.
No,
but
he was right after that.
He was in that next wave, and you've got a lot of people who I think Oberman and Patrick came from CNN actually to ESPN. I think. But there was a great conflagration of talent there. And now you just don't see it. There are some good people still there, but you don't see as much. And I think that's sort of like what we're seeing in terms of network TV, where all these other networks, cable networks and everything is spreading out, and you're not going to have, I'd say ESPN a few years ago was like the big three networks years and years ago, and now those networks have less credibility and less impact. And I think ESPN is starting to.
Oh, there's no question.
An accident out front of my house. Nice.
Oh boy. That's a hardy dog bark.
That's Kaya.
All right. So I was trying to remember if ESPN came before. I think ESPN came before CNN, actually.
Well, no. CNN had
television.
CNN had a sports show at 11:30 at night. Guys
They
like
did. They
Nick
had a couple of hosts there.
Nick
something?
Charles, Fred Hickman.
Right.
But Oberman was there and Patrick was there, but I don't know if they started at ESPN and then came back or vice versa.
We should give them credit. Nick Charles and Fred Hickman were big-time guys when ESPN was small. And actually, when I was in the hotel business, there was the Holyfield-Foreman fight.
Right.
And a lot of actors, Will Smith was there, a lot of people. And I got into a party up there in my hotel, and I got my wife up in there, and we were talking to people. And I was talking to those guys then, when I was just in the hotel business, because I had a lot of reverence for them, because they were sort of some of the early pioneers of cable television. You know, there were always the local guys like Bill Mazer. Everybody had a local guy, but they were like the cable guys, and they were, you know, so they're sort of forgotten now, but they were good.
Yeah, ESPN launched in '79 and CNN launched in '80. For those of you.
Yeah.
And you know, but the one thing about ESPN that's kind of interesting is it in a way launched cable television in general, because there was a concept of this way you could actually broadcast television to people beyond just over your antenna, and the guys from ESPN are the ones who sort of came up with this concept and started doing it just locally around Connecticut, and really kind of launched the whole cable TV call of cable TV. I mean, ESPN is the most expensive channel. I know people in the cable business. If you want to, you know, when it's the most expensive channel, you pay probably there's a good $6 or $7 your cable bill that's going straight to ESPN every month. They pay a lot. You have to pay a lot of money to keep ESPN on your network. And CNN really got going slowly. I just happened to watch this documentary a really great documentary called the 70s and there's one called the 70s, one called the 80s on Netflix. They're just amazing. And they talk about the history of television, and there's a whole thing about ESPN in there, and there's a whole thing about CNN. And it's funny, just as an aside. Do you know what got CNN off the ground? Like what launched CNN? What made it suddenly really like must-see TV?
I do know the original story. I do, but go ahead and tell it because I can't come up and top.
Well, there was this little girl who fell down a well. Remember, this is how the whole thing started. So it happened. I'm not quite sure where it happened, but she fell down this well. They could hear her talking, but they couldn't get to her. And CNN decided to send a person out there and basically stayed on 24/7 about the story, and it became this thing that gripped the country, and everybody started watching CNN because of it. And it was this whole 24-hour, we're going to be there all the time, we're going to stay there until she's rescued kind of thing that CNN launched, and that's how the whole thing launched into it. So it's just interesting because that whole concept of 24-hour news was that was ridiculous back then.
Oh yeah.
The news was an hour, half hour tops. That's what you wanted, and that's all you got. But let's move on back to hockey. And before we get into we have some interesting stories to talk about, including Ovechkin. I wanted to talk about Los Tiburones. Have you seen this?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, then you'll be happy to know about this. All right, so
is that a new brand of Tostitos?
No, the Sharks. Here it is.
Oh, jeez.
The Tiburones. Now this is a new uniform, a new jersey that they actually are launching, and it's designed by the first person who designed the original Sharks logo. The guy who did the original Shark logo, and this is apparently the nickname for the Sharks among the Spanish-speaking people. It does mean the Sharks, so it's not like it's like a crazy nickname. But this is the jersey. So I thought that was kind of neat. I don't know.
I mean, the Mets did it a long time ago with Los Mets. I'm not against this, but I just can't imagine that fan base is big enough that it warrants a jersey. That's my.
No, that area, man. That area is.
I know.
It's enormous.
I get it, but.
Honestly, I would have thought it would have been more because I'd be lying if I knew the demographic and racial breakdown in Northern California and Southern California, but I know that it's more Hispanic in Southern California. So it would make more sense for the Ducks or the Kings to do something like that.
It's not though. I mean, I spent a lot of time out there. As you know, my wife before we were married lived out there for a couple of years, so I spent a lot of time in San Jose area, and there are huge sections of. I mean, San Jose itself is incredibly Hispanic. The area around San Jose, I mean, the roads are like El Camino Real is the big road. I mean, there's a lot of Spanish in San Jose. It's very, very Spanish speaking, and
so will like the Jewish community now get one that says "Oi, the Sharks"? I mean, I'm just wondering.
Get out of the water. Yeah, no. I mean, that's.
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
We're gonna need a bigger boat. Yeah, let's bring Mr. Dreyfus
Are
in.
they making one for every denomination, Ek?
No, but this is cool because I mean, honestly, what's going on here? I mean, if you're a Sharks fan and you're buying a jersey out and you're in that area, I mean, this is cool to reach out to this community. I mean, I think I'm for it. I'm totally for it. I think it's awesome. I mean, there are a lot of Hispanic hockey fans now, and that's a cool thing. And it's just, and especially with the success of the Sharks. I mean, the Sharks now have this sort of casual fan base which they've never had before because people followed. I mean, the Warriors and the Sharks really were like a 1-2 punch last year in that area, going through, to the finals and everything like that, and that whole area became really sports crazy. With sports that weren't the normal sports for that area to be sports crazy with. I mean, the 49ers have had a great run, obviously, in the past. The Giants are.
Don't worry, Chip Kelly will kill that.
Yeah, the Giants are still huge, and have won plenty of times. But for the Sharks and the Golden State Warriors, last year was, I mean, that spring was pretty amazing. I mean, they both took this run, and they both, one fell short, and one didn't, right? If I remember right. I'm trying to remember what happened in basketball. Sorry, that's terrible of me, but
They both fell short.
They both fell short. Sorry,
They both fell short.
They fell short, yeah.
Sorry.
So the sports fans in Northern California are basically waiting for the San Andreas Fault to take them into the Pacific Ocean.
No. Listen, the Giants are having a good season. You never know.
Yeah. And we all, I mean, the 49ers one of the coolest uniforms in all of football. I mean,
is.
Just like they definitely are.
Well, didn't the Giants win all their Super Bowls, all their World Series in even numbered years? Isn't this like one of those?
I don't know. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think that is going on. So I also wanted to thank my friend when and I mention things on the air. It's funny how I say I get these emails and say, oh, you know what I have? I have a Philadelphia Stars helmet. So I got like the Stars helmet back there. Is that pretty cool?
Now, does that one have the bar so you can't?
No, I could put this on, but my friggin' head is too big for it. I can't get it head. I'm afraid of putting it on. It's like just at that point where I could really try.
I'm not saying a thing.
I know. It's a pretty large helmet, right? But
Was your head small enough to fit in it before we started this show?
No. So I mean, I'm at the point where I could probably do it, but I'm really terrified of what would happen if I tried.
It would be a 911 call.
So again, I'm being tortured by like something I.
Is this Eklund or the Great Kazoo?
Something I really want to wear, but I can't wear it because the Delaware football helmet has a bar in it that I can't get past. That one would fit me for sure.
Cut the bar.
I can't. Look at this thing.
Yes, you can. Get one of those. No, wait a second.
Look at this thing. This bar goes right across. That's. I mean, it's like totally.
You can cut it.
If you get a bandsaw, you can cut that.
Right. Exactly.
I don't know if I can. I mean, I'd have to really. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, so I want to thank them for sending me that. And it's funny. He said he had something else. He said he could send me, which was really hilarious. He has a New Jersey Generals helmet signed by Donald Trump.
Oh God.
Well, if I ever am out in the forest and I need someplace to go to the bathroom, that I could use that.
I mean, what would you think? I mean, Russ, in the collectible community, is that something that?
Yeah, it would sell. I mean,
could be pretty valuable.
I never really thought about it, but I got a lot of paychecks signed by Donald Trump, and he's got this weird autograph. It's like, it's.
The paychecks actually signed by Donald Trump?
Yeah. Well, I used to. I mean, back in the day, for years.
Wow.
But I didn't save any of them. I probably should have.
You probably should have, yeah. You're one of the few people who actually got a paycheck. But anyway,
because
before he filed for bankruptcy, that's why.
Yeah.
or before he didn't pay people. Let's move on to the other hockey news. Ovechkin and the World Cup of Hockey. This has become a bit of a controversy back and forth.
It has.
Ovechkin is getting married later this month. We found that out. But I don't know. It seems like he's healthy. It's weird that Russia's playing this little game with this thing a little bit. What's the latest, guys? I mean, I've been trying to follow it.
He's got a video that's showing him working out, but to me, that still doesn't mean he didn't ding up his knee. Like, like this has become laughable now because every outlet has picked it up. Look, Alex Ovechkin isn't hurt. Where did he get the stuff? It's coming from Ovechkin. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. But again, would Alex Ovechkin tell us if he was hurt right now? No, probably not.
I've seen the Alex Ovechkin video almost as much as I've seen Tim Tebow taking swings with a. It's like, this viral video stuff. Anyway, but I mean, let's just say this: if there's any question about Alex Ovechkin being ready for the regular season, he's not going to play in the World Cup. But they'll probably keep this on the down low until the last possible moment because A, they want him there, and B, I'm sure if Ovechkin doesn't play in the tournament, it would affect some people buying tickets. So I think that you're not really going to hear anything until maybe the week before the tournament.
Do you think it really affects tickets buying? I'm not sure.
It could. It could.
Here he is with his bride to be.
Yeah, I follow them on Instagram. They seem like a good couple.
They do seem like a good couple, and this is a real, and that's a
Looks
really,
like they're roughing it.
It's a really good looking
Hey,
dress.
let me tell you something about Ovechkin because you had that smarmy comment there, but during the winter when we were getting pelted with snow, especially then, we weren't getting it that bad. They were. He actually went to the gas station to fill up like his snowblower, and he was pumping people's gas.
Oh yeah, no, he's awesome. I mean,
he pumped other people's gas, and I believe he helped people on his block, help them clear the snow. Like, there's a guy in my block with a snowblower. He does blue collar stuff like that. Even the news was like, "Why are you out on a day like this?" And he's like, "Why not?"
Yeah, no, he's like, I grew up in Russia for crying out loud.
Yeah, and he went with a pickup truck or something. Like he is not that spoiled of a guy. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, he isn't. He really isn't. I mean, and but it is funny how there's this weird Russian thing going on with him because you don't think of him necessarily. I mean, he's obviously Russian, but he plays in the United States. He's part of the United States in a lot of ways because he's here all the time. He plays in the capital of the United States, for crying out loud, and usually you would get pretty good information about him, regarding from the capitals or whatever.
But here's the thing. So if we want to be real news guys, we could go with this. And Ovechkin doesn't realize that with this quote, it is up for interpretation. Now, of course, it went through a translator, but it says, "At the moment, I continue to prepare for the season, more so this year because we have an early start with the national team." Now, at the moment, does that mean that you did ding up your knee and you didn't train before this moment?
Right. That does sound like
that makes you think that.
It does sound like a little bit of a translation thing, though. I wonder.
It could be. No, but I'm just saying it could be. But the idea is NBC put that up. But the idea is it does sort of lead you down that other path, like, hey, maybe you did have a sore knee and now you are working out.
Right. I mean, his season ended in the second round. That would have been early May. So you're talking, I mean, if he had, we don't know anything about whether there's been surgery or whether it was just rehabilitation. But if he had to rehab his knee, he had a knee problem, and it takes most knee problems usually take, which is say 4 to 6 weeks. You're talking the end of June, early July before he could get into his off-season workout routine. So he could be behind. That could simply be what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of pressure? There's just a ton of pressure on him to play in this game. And this is. I mean, especially after what happened in the Olympics and everything like that. There's no question.
This is like Stanley Cup pressure for him in the World Cup, where for like a lot of other players, they don't feel that sort of Stanley Cup pressure because it's it's sort of like preseason to the NHL. Yes, there's a history for the World Cup, but a lot of these players only have watched it on television, so they probably don't know how they're going to feel. But I guarantee you, Ovechkin already has heard it from a million people that he's got to win this for Russia. Like it's a thing.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's more important. Even more important now in Russia in terms of an event after the embarrassment that's been happening in terms of the Olympics with a lot of their athletes. I mean, the Paralympic team was banned from the Paralympics in September in Brazil because of meldonium, and we know that a number of athletes were either accused and are still participating or were not participating in the Rio Olympics because of meldonium. And there's been, I mean, we saw the American swimmer have a confrontation with the Russian swimmer. And honestly, if you're a competing athlete and you're competing against somebody who is taking a substance that's banned that could be enhancing, I understand the animosity between an athlete like that and somebody who's been accused. So, I mean, not to say that that's going to happen with the Russians in the World Cup, but I think right now they want to move on so badly from this embarrassment internationally that the pressure would be on Ovechkin and a lot of the Russian team to do something positive.
And this Russian team has their work cut out for them in this thing. I mean, this is
they do. Their defense doesn't look great.
Yeah, I mean, going into Sochi, they still had their work cut out for them, but I think there were a lot of people who felt like they could just do something.
I felt like they were going to do something there. But
Yeah, that you felt like because it's Russia, it's Sochi, they would just put out the stops.
Yeah, but their defense is their Achilles heel. There's not a lot there. I mean, they have a few pretty decent defensemen, but it's not
too
up
much
to the
passing around. Like it's just like too much fancy play. It's like, listen, just pound shots on net, play good, sound hockey. Don't start. I don't want to say showing off because I don't think they were showing off, but I think that extra dangle, that extra whatever, those things were hurting them.
Yeah, but just specifically the talent level. I mean, they're not even in the same realm as Canada, the U.S., maybe even Team North America, Sweden, Finland. I think
there's a little drop in talent.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I'm not quite sure if there's something I've been thinking about, and I think this is kind of an interesting topic, perhaps, and you guys can decide whether it's interesting. I think it's interesting. Watching Brazil play in the Olympics for the soccer team, and I was talking to my wife about, I lived through being in Canada in Vancouver when the Canadian team was trying to win there, and I wasn't in Russia, but I was there. I was in Canada, and I saw what that meant and how intense that was in Canada for Canada to win that, and now how intense it is in Brazil for them to win the soccer, which I think is very comparable because the sports that really associate with each country. Country.
You know what the wrong thing? You know what the bad thing about soccer is? I'm going to give one soccer bashing. You could have a tie and still move on to the tournament. What the hell is up with that? That's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, I mean, they haven't figured out a good way to solve ties. I mean, soccer really should take a little bit of a cue from hockey and go to like 7v7 for and have a winner. Because penalty kicks are terrible. I mean, why not just go to 7v7 and you would definitely get a winner. There'd be all kinds of space. You would create something, and it would be exciting. People would love to watch it, and you would see the stars doing the stars things. But talk about purists. Baseball purists are one thing, but soccer purists are just another level altogether. I mean, it's a worldwide purism that you cannot change anything about that game.
Okay. Here's the Russian defense: Alexei Emelin, Dmitry Kulikov, Alexei Marchenko, the young defenseman from the Red Wings, Andrei Markov, Dmitry Orlov, Nikita Zaitsev from the Leafs, and I believe that after the Voyanov banning, the replacement was Nestorov from Tampa Bay. I believe.
The long-haired Christmas donkey. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's either too young or too old, and like it's okay, but like Markov isn't Markov. It's tough.
Too young, too old, or not good enough. I mean, it's.
How is Nestorov a better choice than Provorov?
He's not.
It's just insane. I mean, Nestorov is what?
Reputation. Russian reputation.
2 years older than Provorov, maybe? That's just crazy.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, he's 19, and they've had a history of, they're young stars. They have to pay their dues to be able to play on their international.
Yeah, but with all the pressure that's on them, I don't know. I mean, that seems a little bit.
Oh, I don't believe in it either. I'm pretty sure Mike doesn't, but it is the way they operate.
Oh yeah, no, it's how they operate. I mean, and I'm going to finish my thought there. Was there as much pressure on Canada in Vancouver as there is on Brazil as the soccer team?
I do think it was the same. I do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yes.
I don't know if it is. I don't think it is, and I'll tell you why. I know you talked about this. I think culturally, what we've seen, like the whole thing the whole discussion we had with Messi, like quitting. There's a whole culturally, the way losing soccer is viewed in South America versus the way losing hockey is viewed in Canada is very different.
Well, let's just say this. I don't foresee a situation in Canada happening like what happened in the past when Team USA played Colombia and the guy who scored the own goal was assassinated when he got off the plane in Bogota.
Right, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. But I think that the pressure from the sporting public and from everybody in Canada on that team in 2010 was intense. They were expected to win.
It was incredibly intense.
I will say this. I think Mike's right, because if you remember what they said about the ratings, it was almost like every household in Canada was watching.
Right.
Yeah, but every household in Brazil.
All you need to know for pressure.
No, but in Brazil, soccer in Brazil is just so enormous.
I know.
That team has had a history of choking. That team is where Team Canada, you could say that they hadn't won a gold medal in a while, I guess, but
Let's take a historical comparative here. I think it was the '81 Canada Cup when Canada lost to Russia, and I think it was Game 3 of the final. And Mike Liut was in goal, and I think it was like 7-1 or 8-1. If that had happened in the Olympics to Team USA, then the reaction would have been as bad as it was in the World Cup when Brazil lost to Germany by that ridiculous score.
right.
I mean, I think the pressures. I mean, the sports are different. The reaction of the fans is different. But I think the pressure and the intensity of the pressure is very similar.
I've always gotten the impression, and maybe it's wrong, and I've been around enough Canadians in my life and been to Canada enough in my life that I think I have it right. It almost seems like anytime Canada loses when they're expected to win, it's a choke.
Oh yeah.
Right. And when they won in 2010 and Crosby scored the goal, it was more relief that
Yes.
they actually did. It wasn't joyous. Oh my God, we won! It was like, yes, that.
Well, that
we
is because
iterated-
the only thing wrong with your discussion, with your sentence, Russ, is that there has never been a when Canada is expected to win. I mean, Canada has always been expected to win. There is never a situation.
I mean, once in a while there are other teams favored.
I don't
It's a
think
rarity,
Canada,
though.
Canada, that's not the case. In Canada,
Yeah.
from what I can tell, and we don't have any Canadians on the show. I do watch Canadian TV all the time because I was Slingbox up there, so I watch Canadian. I've grown up. My kids grew up on Canadian TV. I watch Canadian. I watch TSN Sports Center, not ESPN Sports Center. So I do have like a sense when I watch this. I really, it's a really admirable thing to me how passionate they are and how much this is their sport, to the point where every children's cartoon they're playing hockey and everything is.
I would agree with you for the Olympics, but like last year, like going into the under-18s with the U.S. winning all those medals, Canada was not the favorite. There's no way they could have even thought they were the favorite, and they didn't win. I mean, and so I think there are some situations, but in the lower levels where they're not always the favorite, even in their country. But you're right, with the Olympics, and when it's really something big like a Canada Cup, then I think you're right. I think it works like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we need some Canadians to chime in on this. Just send us an email to eklund@hockeybuzz.com and say, we didn't expect to win the World Cup. Or I watched TSN throughout the World Cup last year, and I got the impression that they really felt like that they should be winning it, that they should win the World Cup. I mean, that's really the impression I got. I don't know. I might be wrong. And they were close enough that you couldn't argue that you couldn't sit there and say there's no way they were going to win it. It was a close enough tournament that they could have won it, but Sweden is being as good as they were as they've been in that tournament lately. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things. Sorry, Echo is crazy today, guys. Let's see if we can.
I'll log off and
log on for a second, Mike. See if it's in your side.
Yeah, it's Mike's fault.
It's usually Mike's fault. All right, so it seems fine with you and I, Russ. No problem.
Yeah, I mean, we just had to get rid of Mike. Who knew?
That's all we needed. Yeah, it's hold your applause. Okay, so
I have no sound effect.
I know. Hey, Mike, you're back. Yeah, it was fine while you were gone.
We missed you, though.
We did miss you still. We didn't say anything about you while you were gone.
No, not at all.
Of course, I'll just make sure I check that out when the video.
Yeah, when you're editing things down later.
Yeah, there you go. I'll just completely excise it from the entire thing.
Right, exactly. You can do that, no problem. So, I get the sense that I don't know. It's always hard to judge or determine passion versus passion. But I just really feel like Brazil is more stress on those players than it was on the Canadian. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But then it brings me to the idea of the World Cup of Hockey, and this doesn't have the same kind of feeling that Vancouver had, right, for Canada. This is
no,
because this is. I mean, okay. It's not it's in a sense it's a created event. It doesn't have the gravitas of the Olympics. I mean, the Olympics before, even when it wasn't.
Right, Canada Cup was always a created event too, and that always had
right,
that.
But it's not. It doesn't even have the feel of the Canada Cup either, for me.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And the Canada Cup was called the Canada Cup. To be fair.
We can't say it right now because it's a month away, and we'll see at the end of the 2-week tournament how it is. But this doesn't strike me as bringing about the same passion as Rendezvous '87 or '81 or '76 or Canada.
Why did they call it Rendezvous? That was the dumbest thing, by the way.
I know, but that's what it was. So I'm going to call it.
Why? Why? When is hockey ever a rendezvous?
It was just in Quebec, right? That's why they did it.
Right.
Because they had a lot of the games in Quebec. I mean, I really, to me, by the way, the Rendezvous, that was maybe the best of all of them. I mean, I thought that was
It
an
was really
incredible.
good, but it was just a bad name.
It was all 6-5 games, wasn't it? It was just crazy.
Yeah.
Fun.
And there were some pretty good players back then too.
Oh man, yeah, you were at the highlight of that era. You know, that was really, there was so
Probably
many.
if you look at it now, 3/4 are Hall of Famers.
Oh yeah, at least, right? I mean, when you had Gretzky and Mario playing on the same team, all that, it was crazy. Rendezvous was crazy, and it was and they were so high scoring, and yet you didn't get the sense that the
So
goalies did.
you know what? But there's a good thing. So there was Gretzky and Mario then. Do we get that same feeling with, I don't know, Crosby, Ovechkin, whatever? I don't. And it's no slight to them, but I just feel like it was bigger with those guys than it is now.
Those guys were just bigger in general.
Yeah, they were just bigger.
I mean, Crosby is as big as you can probably get in this kind of era, and you know it's possible that McDavid could get bigger than Crosby, I guess, but I don't think so. I mean, no one could get bigger than Gretzky was getting at that point. It was just mainly because of just the numbers, you know, and that had a lot to do with Gretzky being amazing. It also had a lot to do with there being this big variance. I talked about this with Kevin over the weekend when I was at dinner with him, but this big variance in skill level, you know, that there were players who were not as good as other. Right now, you can't put those kind of numbers up in the NHL because
And Crosby doesn't feather his hair as nicely as Gretzky and doesn't lighten his hair either.
And Crosby has to face defensemen that literally all can skate. You know, and Gretzky didn't have to, and Gretzky had faced some defensemen that were pylons. You know, there were players back then. The difference between top and bottom was much greater than it is now.
Don't pick on Brad Marsh. Come on.
Oh, there were plenty. I mean, and you know, Wayne was so much better than some players that when you get that huge disparity, you get 200-point seasons. You're not going to get that now, and you know, I mean, Connor McDavid has the potential to do that. I guess again, but I don't think 200-point seasons are in his future. But I think that, you know, could he be as big of a star as Crosby? Perhaps. He's got. I mean, the fact he's on Edmonton.
He has a chance to be as big or bigger than Crosby because even though Crosby was here in the beginning of what I would call the digital age, McDavid's in it now in the heart of the digital age.
Yeah. And people argue, you know, that McDavid on Edmonton hurts him, but you know, like
he's in Canada. It doesn't hurt.
The obvious thing is that, you know, it didn't hurt Gretzky, and no one even knew who the hell the Edmonton Oilers were at that point. Well, they were completely like they were just a franchise that came out of the blue. You know, now the Oilers been around.
I mean, let's just say this. I mean, the way Hockey Night in Canada does their broadcast, Edmonton will get the majority of the second.
Oh, yeah.
Of the.
They should, you know.
And, you know, so you're talking, but the thing is, you're talking about and. For him to be a megastar, I think it would have behooved the NHL to have him in the Eastern, you know, in Montreal or Ottawa or Toronto in Canada, because then he'd be at the, you know, but
that's the old days. I think that's old school thinking. I don't think it matters anymore.
I think it still matters. I mean, how many people?
Has it mattered for Ovechkin in Washington? It's not like Washington is a sports capital. It's the capital of the U.S., but it's not the sports capital of the U.S. It's an okay sports city.
Yeah.
It's a good one. It's not one of the 3 best sports cities, not by a long shot.
Yeah, I could see that. I think that's. It's not. I wouldn't call it. I don't know. No, not one of the best for sure.
No, it's probably in the top 10.
Yeah.
But you're not going to say one of the 5 best sports cities is Washington. No way.
Right. No, definitely not. Unless you're a football.
But he has certainly put them on the map and kept them on the map compared to when he wasn't there.
Yeah, no, for sure.
How big were the Washington Capitals when Mike Gartner was there? I mean, Gartner was a tremendous talent. He's a Hall of Famer, but they're way bigger now.
Oh, this has changed the Capitals completely, and I mean, when you go there, it's a totally different feeling. I went to the Cap Center back, and you went back there, you know, in the day plenty of times. Yeah, in Landover, yep, and you know, right off of 95, and you would go there, and it was, you know. It was like that Saddle Dome looked like the Saddle Dome had in Calgary, and it was usually I would go down for Flyers games. It would be a third Flyers fans at least. And now you go to Washington for a Flyers game, and there's Flyers fans there, but it's not many. Caps have their own fans, and they wear their jerseys, and they're out there in bulk. I mean, it's got a huge following now. So yeah, I think
that stupid guy with the air horn. Sorry.
Yeah. They do. That building is an interesting one, though. It's what's cool about that building is it's one of the right on the Amtrak Northeast Corridor buildings, which is. It's
great that it's in Chinatown. It's literally a part of, right. It's in the heart of it. It's pretty cool.
Did that stupid guy with the air horn move to Pittsburgh? Because I think he was there for the Stanley Cup final.
No, I'm sure no one should be allowed to bring air horns. That's something we need to get rid of right now.
Air horns and the cowbell guy. There's a cowbell guy at Met games. I'm telling you, he has sat near us in a section, and people love him, and we're like, get out of here, man. You are annoying us.
Yeah, the Shark plays the cowbell a lot in San Jose, and it makes you insane. Remember that? The cowbell was sitting there banging the.
Well, maybe that's why Theo Fleury did what he did to Sharky.
Yeah, Sharky had a tough time with it. I know you had your run-ins with Sharky last couple months ago too, Russ. You know, but anyway, we won't get into that.
No.
Kucherov. Speaking of Russians in uncertain situations, the Kucherov negotiations have really not happened as far as.
Yeah, Mike is, who's pretty much his agent, would have already had him signed to a 7-year deal had that other guy left town, but the other guy didn't leave town.
Well, but I think he still wants that 7-year deal. Screw the other guy who stayed in town. You know, that's basically what he's saying. He says, you know, I'm the one who carried you through the playoffs last year. I'm the one who who led the team in goal scoring in the playoffs. So show me the money.
Yeah, that's a very like cavalier attitude, which I don't believe he has. Believe me.
Yeah, I don't think he has that either.
I just think, you know, and
he's pretty laid back.
Yeah.
You look at the situation, and you know, maybe he does have a laid back attitude, but I'm sure that's what he pays his representatives for, and they're looking out to see him get what he deserves. And you know, after putting up 2 pretty good years, 2 pretty good postseasons in a row, and he's coming up as a restricted free agent, coming off his entry level deal. I'm sure he wants what Brandon Saad ended up getting from Columbus. I'm sure he doesn't want to be traded from Tampa Bay. He wants to win a Stanley Cup, but I'm sure he also wants.
But there's no reason to do that right now. I mean, they have put in the NHL. It would be ridiculous for them to put it like what they did with Hedman. They did because Hedman is one of the best defensemen in the NHL. He is their best defenseman, no questions asked, right? And that Hedman and Stamkos they had to put money into, right? And they did.
But I think they have to put money into Kucherov.
But they don't have to yet. I mean, and the issue is, I mean, they can wait on this a little bit. They can play out this year. They still have him as a restricted free agent. They still have him for a while, so they really don't have to do anything.
Well, no, unless you unless you want him to hold out, and
he's not going to hold out though. He's not a holdout type.
Okay, well, if you give him a 2-year deal at what Killorn is making right now, then fine. But I think there's a compromise here between Tampa Bay getting him on a long-term deal and getting him for a little less, and Kucherov getting the money that he deserves. Now, I think he deserves, based on how he's played and based on the importance to that team, I think he's the second most important forward behind Stamkos right now.
He might be the most important person. He might be.
No, I disagree. I think that sounds like it's true, but if you talk to the coach, it's still probably Ryan Callahan, even though he doesn't put up the points.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you,
I know. But let's talk in reality here, Russ. I mean, Ryan Callahan is.
Well, but we are talking reality in the sense that they got the guy there for his locker room presence and for other things. It's the same argument why Ranger fans didn't want to give him all that money. They gave him all that money.
Here's the argument that you can make. You can flat out say this. Okay, so Stamkos misses the end of last year and on the playoffs and everything like that. Mm-hmm. If Kucherov was the guy who missed and Stamkos was healthy, is Tampa as good or not? Like that's where you have to. To me,
there's no way to know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good. It's hyperbole, and I don't know.
There's no way to
hyperbole,
know.
But it's
hypothetical, and
it's worth thinking about because that's why when I sit back and think about it, who I would rather have long term, I don't know. If I'm not, I really, and that's a big ups to Kucherov. Part of that also is Kucherov is not going to be an $8 million player, but he's going to be. He's going to be a $6 million player.
I still would take Stamkos, and I'll tell you why. It's not based on even talent at this point, but it's based on the fact that teams will slow Kucherov down over time.
Right.
Teams have not been able to figure out how to slow down Stamkos really much at all. If you think about
Stamkos has some raw talents that players don't have. Like his release is crazy. Like that kind of stuff. There's things that he does that he's had like a Mike Bossy type shot that you just you don't find in any players.
Based on empirical evidence, when you have Kucherov and Stamkos, they make the Cup final. When you have just Kucherov and Stamkos doesn't play until Game 7 of the conference final, they don't get to the final. So you need both of them. He's a key player. Mm-hmm. He's one of those guys that if you're taking Chicago, he's part of that core group like Kane, like Taves, like Hossa. you have to pay that guy, and you have to get that guy
But
locked.
he's not holding out, so they're doing the right thing, and they'll sign a bridge deal, and they'll worry about it next year, and maybe next year they'll give him an extension when they can see past the Bishop stuff and all the other stuff that's.
Yeah, because right now they can't do it. They
No.
can't. They're putting a lot of money into these players. They can't do it. There's no way. I mean, they still have Hedman for a year on this other contract, right? So
Right.
they're still there. So they're gonna and Tampa's not a market that has a ton of money, and they are in this. They're in this really great window right now to win a cup here. So.
Well, we talked about the contracts that they could conceivably move out if they were going to sign Stamkos, and they haven't done that yet. So they didn't trade Filppula.
Yep.
They didn't trade. They didn't move out one of the defensemen. They actually re-signed a guy like Braden Coburn. I mean, nothing much changes other than losing Brian Boyle next year and Bishop, and you're already paying Vasilevsky about 60% of what you're paying Bishop right now, starting next year. So I mean, I think you have to give Kucherov that long-term deal.
Yeah, but you know what else hurts the Kucherov contract? The fact that Jonathan Drouin is Jonathan Drouin again. That hurts it because now they're not as dependent on Kucherov, because next year, starting off the year, Drouin's going to be a starter for them. He's not going to be a question mark. They're not going to be any of this drama. And so now Kucherov will certainly get his numbers and prove it, but they're not going to be as dependent on Kucherov as they were the year before.
Well, I mean, you think this offseason was difficult. Next year is Drouin.
Well, next year's horrible.
Johnson and Palat as RFA.
I mean, next year's horrible. They did kill the Hedman. Hedman would have been the other issue, right? So that was the big. They killed that off. I think that.
But Drouin's an RFA again. He's going to have to wait.
See, how they see it is, listen, the only way you're going to pay for these contracts is another long run. You got to go long into the playoffs. So why not just this is going to be horrible. This is going to be tough, and really you're not really thinking too much of the future when you're not signing Kucherov. But I don't think that matters as much to Tampa as. I mean, also, you want to see Drouin through an entire year. Is he real? Is he not real? I mean, there's so many things here. Drouin could be the guy, but he might also fall back into not being the guy. So it's hard to say at this point. It's really hard to say. So I think there's too much at stake there. Too much weirdness.
The one we're not talking about is Tyler Johnson. He certainly has slipped.
He has slipped, but then last year in the playoffs looked like he could possibly be.
I know.
Yeah, and what that may mean, Russ, is that they go to arbitration with him and get him at a reasonable figure for another year before he's qualified to go UFA. I mean, they're going to have to make a decision either between Kucherov, Palat, or Johnson. They maybe can keep two of them. They can't keep all three. So.
I think that's fair. All right, so let's get into our numbers game here because we have a couple things from yesterday we want to discuss. First of all,
I'm going to show one quick picture just because NHL History Girl had it up. It's really cool. This is Anthony Kiedis from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, nice. So that's
old hockey gear. I had no idea.
Yeah, there he is. Got the hockey gear on. That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah. If the analytics people don't like him because he gives it away now.
The greatest number 7 ever voted by you by over 1,200 of you in the last 45 minutes, I guess, which is awesome. Howie Morenz comes in at number 5 with 9.8. Tim Horton comes in at number 4 with 11.44.
Pathetic.
Chris Chelios comes in. No, I'm sorry. That's 4-3. I'm sorry. Yes. Actually, sorry. Raj O'Bear came in below Howie Morenz. Sorry about that. Raj O'Bear. He's not on my list here. So Raj O'Bear comes in at last. Howie Morenz is next. Tim Horton. Chris Chelios at number 2 at 19.7. And Phil Aceto at number 1 with 56.51. Someone also brought up the fact that we didn't put Ray Bourque into this list, which is probably another interesting thing because
but he wore 77 for the.
He wore 77 more. He did.
Well, he wore 7 for like 7 years, right? I was
4 or
looking at
5
that.
years, I think.
No, I will find that out, but it was quite a few years.
I'm not going to argue about it. But.
The greatest number 7 right now. Okay, so my Matt Cullen came in at 4th, 4th of 4.
As we expected.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well you're at 5.07. Kyle Torres, your guy, didn't come in much higher at 7.
Well, I know, but I was 3rd. I mean, what do you want me to do?
Now here's the battle. I thought going into this,
Brent Seabrook or T.J. Brody. Excuse me.
I thought going into this that T.J. Brody would win this thing. I thought that was the guy that people would go with, and it turns out T.J. Brody came in at second at 12.77, while 75% of you out there have Brent Seabrook as the best number 7 in the NHL right now. I agree with you all. I do. I think he is the best number 7
Yeah,
in
I
the
think
NHL.
that's fair.
But I thought TJ Brady might have a little bit of a bigger, because we have so many Calgary people out there. But definitely, there's it was interesting. So I like that. I like that that game. So today we're going to get into number 8s. Okay, so I'm going to bring up some 8s for us all here, and we're going to get to the number 8s all time.
Well, we should skip the number 8 for today because we know it's
No, actually, no.
No, but you can't skip it.
No, and I'm going to make an argument why he's not the best number 8 right now in the NHL. All right,
well,
so
give me the first pick on that one because that's who's my pick.
It's everybody's first pick. I mean,
all right, but all time. Let's start all time for a second. Let me
you
bring it.
stuck me with Kyle Turris. I mean, my God.
Right, so all time number 8s. There are some good ones. I'm gonna give you them, guys. I thought this might be kind of a fun way of doing it first. Like I would give you guys a bunch of them because I came up with this really cool thing that Shaisley showed me. Should I do that or should I let you guys pick first?
Let us pick.
All right, let you pick first. I will go last again because I'm that kind of person.
You're magnanimous. Yeah.
I like to go last. 404 players in the history of the NHL have worn number 8. By the way, if you're curious, this is according to HockeyReference.com, which really has a great section for numbers, which I found.
They're great for that.
You know, including some odd ones like Danny Briere, who wore it for 5 years with the Phoenix Coyotes. I remember that.
I remember that.
Danny Briere would like to forget the Phoenix Coyotes, though. So
yeah, like I said before, he was drafted by the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
They go to Winnipeg Jets. Matt Cullen wore number 8. Actually, I could go with him again. He wore number 8.
Why don't you go with Matt Cullen again?
Yeah, keep going. Maybe eventually you'll win.
How about Paul Sear for the Buffalo Sabres?
Paul Sear wore 18.
He wore number 8 for 1 year. In 1988, he wore number 8.
Yeah, that was before he was traded.
Nathan Horton for the Columbus Blue Jackets, a brief history there, wore number 8. Yeah, there's some good ones here. So, but and there are some, of course, Hall of Famers, and I guess we'll let you guys go with that. But why don't you start this out, Mike? Go ahead. Number 8 all time.
The Finnish Flash, Teemu Selanne.
Oh, ooh, good one. Yeah, Teemu. Wow. I mean, obviously set all kinds of records.
Obviously, if I was going to do this, what you did, since Shea Weber is still playing, I would have taken Alex, but he's playing still, so we're keeping this separate. He's retired. I'm taking Selanne.
Okay. Selanne wore 8 his entire career, right? He didn't wear another.
He didn't wear anything else.
Yep.
That's pretty impressive that he did that too. How about Steve Vickers? Russ, you going to go with him?
I'm not going to go with Sarge, but I like Sarge. I like Tony Amonte, who I think also wore the number.
Jim Lorenz with the Buffalo Sabres, Batman.
Right. Scotty Upshaw wore it with Phoenix and Columbus.
Scotty Upshaw. I am not going to go with. I'm going to go with someone who would have beaten up Teemu Selanne and Cam Neely.
Cam Neely.
Yeah.
All right. See that? I'm going to go into this and say that Cam Neely is one of the most overrated players of all time.
Oh my God! Say it to him in person. I want you to say it to him.
I would. I completely would.
I don't think you would.
Excuse me, let's play the theme song from Death Wish.
All right, I'm not going to go with Jim Nill or Ted Nolan. I'm not going to go.
Save Aki Berg for me. Just kidding.
Right. Tony McKegney as a Buffalo Sabre. Nope. Some good names on here. Jack McMillan. Back in the old Maple Leaf days. There's a really good Sid Smith, number 8, for a long time back in the heydays. Or how about Alan Stanley from the New York Rangers?
Alan Stanley was a heck of a player.
He was a heck of a player, a Hall of Famer, I believe.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer.
Wasn't Dave Schultz 8?
Dave Schultz was number 8. I was trying to look at the Hall of Famers who are number 8, and Selanne's not in the Hall of Fame yet, right? Because
no, not yet.
He will be, but when I was going through this list, I believe there's.
Well, I have one for you, Hall of Famer, Igor Lariano.
Right. No, and that one might have been one of my picks, but it's not going to be one of my picks. But he definitely deserves to be on there. I'm going to put him on there because there's only 3 of us today, so I'm going to put Larionov on there as well.
That's fair.
I'm going to go with Alex Ovechkin as the number 8 of all time. And I really think that. What's wrong with that, Mike?
Nothing. I thought we were doing
We are doing the current two, but I still think he's the greatest number 8 of all time.
That's fine. I'm okay with it.
I mean, look at what he's done in the period of time he's been in the NHL. I just think it's hard to. I'm going to tell you right now that I'm not going to pick him as the greatest number 8 currently playing. How about that? But he is the best number 8 of all time.
Okay.
No question
whatever.
about it. No, he is. He is. So I'm going to give you the number 8 Hall of Famers. Ready?
Go ahead.
Some of these are really good. So
Mark Recchi.
here we go. Dick Duff.
Shouldn't be a Hall of Famer, but okay, go ahead.
Canadians and Buffalo Sabres. Shouldn't be a Hall of Famer, huh?
And Toronto.
Actually, but he didn't wear number 8 in Toronto.
No, but he
Mike, would you put him in the Hall of Fame, Dick Duff?
Nah, probably not.
Okay.
Silvio Mantha. Montreal Canadiens, 24-25, number 8, Hall of Fame. Played only 2 years there.
Father of Momant, I believe.
Bill Mosienko.
Yep.
Blackhawks, 51-55. Larry Murphy, Washington and Minnesota, with number 8. He was number 8 on both those teams. Not number 8, of course, in Toronto.
Or Detroit.
Right. And let's see who else we have here on the list of number 8 Hall of Famers. Alan Stanley, like we said. We said Alan Stanley, and I think that might be it. That is it. So, not a lot of number 8.
Rick Martin. There's some others.
I didn't see Rick Martin as a Hall of Famer, is he?
No, he's not a Hall of Famer. Sorry, you're just doing Hall of Famer.
I'm just doing Hall of Famers, yep. Cam Neely, obviously.
He's number 7. He's number 7.
Yeah, Cam Neely, Hall of Famer. So I'm going with Ovechkin, and there you have it. So there's our list for today. Larionov we're going to add in there as well because, I mean, it's hard not to put Igor Larionov, who really was one of the most dynamic players, and had he played his entire career in the NHL,
he would have been dynamite.
Might be the best number 8 of all time if he had just played in the NHL. But, you know, as far as his whole career goes, yeah, that's hard to say. Now,
Dave Silk. All right, never mind.
Dave Silk. All right, there are 15 players currently in the NHL, at least as of last year, because we're doing this, you know, as of last year, because some players have moved around. We don't know what numbers they'll be, who are wearing number 8. All right. Yesterday, I believe, who went first yesterday in the coin toss? Oh, Russia went first. So, Mike, you can go first today with the greatest number 8 currently playing.
That would be Alex Ovechkin.
Okay, all right. Are you sure about that pick?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
All right. That's a good one. All right, I'll let you have that one. So we don't have to make a case for Alex Ovechkin, I guess. We're pretty safe to say.
You all know.
Okay, so all right, Russ, go ahead. Give me yours.
Joe Pavelski.
See, that's a good one. That was mine, and I think he is right now better than Alexander Ovechkin is. But we're not going to go there. He had more points last year than Ovechkin. He, was a higher plus-minus player. Anyway, I'm going to say right now, currently, Pavelski, underrated Pavelski. All right, so I'm not going to go with Joe Colburn. I'm not going to go with Justin Abdelkader.
Go with Joe Colburn.
Not going to go with Abdelkader or Tobias Ryder. Not going to go with Kevin Klein, although he's a good player.
Zubris.
No. Jacob Trouba. No Jacob Trouba, even though he's a pretty good number 8. David Schlemko. Nope, not him. Chris Tanney. Nope. Brian Dumoulin. Nope.
Oh,
let's just go with the guy.
Jack Skilly. No, I gotta say these. Jack Skilly, Connor Carrick. Nah. Peter Gramberg. Nope. Griffin Reinhart. No. I am going to go with Drew Doughty, who is.
It's a good number 8.
That's a good number 8.
Who's a good number 8. And I think we've got. I mean, all 3 of these might be better. All 3 of these would have won in the number 7 category yesterday, but Pavelski, Ovechkin, and Doughty. So there's your battle. I don't think we can put a 4th in there. I don't even think there's a 4th that really I
mean, Shattenkirk is maybe the 4th, but
Shattenkirk's not number 8.
He's worn number 8,
but he's not number 8. Last year we're talking about currently.
Oh, okay, last year.
Currently he's not number 8.
Okay.
I think the next best number 8 on here would probably be Abdelkader.
Yeah, he's not even worthy of the list.
Or Colburn. I mean, Colburn had a heck of a year last year.
No.
Let's go with the 3. That's fine.
Kevin Klein's pretty good too. Jacob Trouba.
Kevin Klein. I love Kevin Klein. He's not on the list.
Trouba could be that player eventually.
Just go.
Could be.
Anyway, so there's number 8. Tomorrow we will do number 9, which is a really, really hard one.
We can pretty much say with confidence who's going to win the all-time number 9.
Yeah, but there's 2.
There's other greats. No, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's actually 3 really phenomenal. And there's probably more, but anyway, let's save that for tomorrow.
We'll definitely save that for tomorrow. One, of course, being, this one.
I knew that was coming.
So there you have number 9. That's all we have time for today.
For an alumni team, yes.
For an alumni team, yeah. Oh, by the way, I wanted to bring this up real fast. Sorry. The alumni team. Did you see this? The alumni team for the Blues.
Oh no, I didn't see it for the Blues. I was
so-
looking at the Legends Classic. We should mention that afterwards. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I didn't see that Legends Classics, but the Blues alumni team. A couple players that are on this team that are really kind of weird. Not weird, but just. I think this is the first time. I'm just gonna bring up the list here. I believe this is the first time ever that a player still being paid to play in the NHL is on an alumni team.
Chris Pronger.
Chris Pronger, yeah. I mean, he still is picking up a contract and is not able to play in the NHL.
Yeah, he won't be playing now.
He's playing.
He is playing?
Yes.
I bet you he's just dressing. I bet you he's not playing.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the case, the Coyotes want to put him in the lineup right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play. I think he'll dress.
yeah. I mean,
He'll be a coach. He'll be a coach behind the bench.
Who else? Name some other names.
Brett Hull, Bernie Federico, Al McGinnis are all going to play.
Right?
They were,
This will be the first time we see McGinnis take a shot with a composite.
yeah, I wonder if he'll use one or if he'll just go with the good old-fashioned wooden stick.
He'll
No,
just
he'll
use
go
an
with the
88
composite because I've spoken to Ryan about it, and Ryan said that his dad does shoot composites now, and so I think he'll go with a composite.
All right, there you go. Well, Kid Rock will perform again at the Winter Classic, by the way, if you're curious.
boy.
What do you mean again? Has he done it before?
Yeah, hasn't he been there? But
No.
he's done other NHL things though.
Yeah, but not
Okay.
that.
Yeah, this is. I mean, just having spent a week in St. Louis, it's going to be fun. I mean,
I'm going to just mention the Legends Classic lineup real quick, and then we're
Okay.
going to go. It's the Hall of Fame team. The fact that it's sponsored by Hagar, you know, the people who make buffet pants, is fabulous.
That's hilarious. The people who make standing pants.
You can't make it up. Team Lindros has Coffee, Lindros, Jason Arnott, Patrice Brisbois, Terry Cartner, Ron Duguay, Adam Graves, John LeClaire, Michael Renberg. Team Salming has Mike Gardner, Doug Gilmore, Boya Salming, Daryl Sittler, Wendell Clark, Shane Corson, J.S. Shiger, Thomas Caberlet, Brian McCabe, Luke Richardson, Rick Vave, and Tiger Williams. I'm going with Team Lindros. They're younger.
So it's the Leafs alumni basically.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this right now that Caberlet is going to be traded. Thomas Caberlet will definitely be moved.
But McCabe won't waive his no trade clause.
Right, but Thomas Caberlet will definitely be moved. And
But it's genius to have Hagar be the sponsor. Like, that writes itself.
Yeah, just
It
look
really
at
does.
those ex-players.
oh yeah, I know. I'm sure more than one of them have a pair of Hagar pants in their closets. That's awesome. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We'll talk to you tomorrow.